Hello, everybody, and welcome back to what is actually our last panel of the day today, our webinar session with these wonderful panelists on the screen with me. It's not only the last panel of today, it's the last panel of the year for the Retail Bulletin. After all of these events we've been running since February with such fabulous engagement, this is a wrap. So no pressure on my panelists at all to make it a good exit of 2021. And we're really excited to look forward to 2022 and a really packed program of events, some virtual, some in person, maybe, we hope as well. So we're looking forward to seeing you next year as well. But we've still got this session to get through, yeah? This is about leveraging data to drive digital. And I'm going to ask these people here to introduce themselves in just a moment. But first of all, I'd like to remind you of your role as our audience. We love you to get involved. So please, depending on what device you're using, somewhere there is a Q&A button on your screen, use it. And every question that gets asked gets answered. You may want to ask a question at one of our panels specifically. You may have a general question around the whole subject matter that we're talking about. No subjects are off limit. Whatever you ask us, we will deal with. I'm Darren, I'm your moderator for the session. Thank you to the Retail Bulletin for having me back. My day job is consisting of a couple of things. I'm the founder of Williams Harding Consulting, now in its 4th year, and also the exec chairman of Scrubbed, their men's skincare brand, which I'm very proud of as well. But enough about me. I want to meet these people here and find out who they are. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves and then we'll get talking. So without further ado, Anouk, tell us about you, please. Good morning. Sorry about this sun on my face. I'm trying to dodge it, but I'm actually quite enjoying it as well. Anouk, tell us who you are.
Nice and bright. Well, lovely to be here yet again. Can't believe it's the end of the year. Absolutely madness. So my name is Anouk, wacky Dutch name. The last name is simpler. But I started my career about 12 years ago in Paris, working for Lagardère Media, where I managed all the corporate accounts, such as L'Oreal, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and also the big retail brands. So we did advertising campaigns for IKEA, Hugo Boss, etc. From there, I actually moved to the UK for 8 years to join a company called Yieldify. Some of you may know. They basically invented the pop-up, on-site pop-up code, as well as the first ever abandoned basket email. So that was very exciting. You're all welcome for the spam. We invented that for you. And I actually left there when the company got bought by Google Ventures, which seemed like a good time to step out. Then went retail side, so joined Janis, which is a group behind one of the biggest furniture DIY retailers in the UK, where I did in-house marketing and e-commerce. And now I'm the head of marketing and digital for AAMP Global. AAMP Global, you may not have heard of, because again, it's one of those background brands that owns everything, but you just do not know who they are. We are the biggest manufacturer worldwide of car parts. So not the nuts and bolts and all the boring stuff. We do all the snazzy technology bits, from your navigation to Apple CarPlay technology, beautiful subwoofers, as well as your reversing cameras, all that kind of stuff. So I manage the marketing for OEM and aftermarket, as well as the direct-to-consumer e-commerce wing.
Well, welcome. And you just moved house last week to the Netherlands, haven't you?
I did, yes.
How's that box unpacking going?
It's fine. Look, there's nothing here.
Brilliant. We were saying yesterday, weren't we? The chaos is all off screen, yeah?
Yeah, it's all to the side.
Good work, good work. Well, thank you for joining us, and great to have you with us. Janis, tell us about you. Who are you and where you come from?
Hi, I'm Janis. I am the e-commerce and marketing director at Look Fabulous Forever. We are a direct-to-consumer beauty brand, marketing to older women. And by older women, I don't mean what the rest of the beauty industry generally does, which is anyone over about 30. Our customers are predominantly in their 60s and 70s, and we produce products that are specifically designed for those mature skins, which the vast majority of mainstream beauty brands and retailers don't cater to. I've had a diverse career in brands from Birchbox to Playboy, doing everything from the early days of movie streaming to, you know, I've worked for everyone from Rupert Murdoch to Hugh Hefner, and done a lot of stuff in that over the years.
I'm sure you've got some very interesting stories to tell us all one time. We could create a webinar around this, Janis's stories. There you go, Karen. There's some content ideas for you for the future. Welcome, Janis. Great to have you with us. And we love the story behind Look Fabulous Forever as well. And look forward to hearing some of your insights. Harpreet, welcome. Tell us about you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Harpreet Cheema, I'm the head of workplace services for Sodexo. So very similar to Anouk in terms of Sodexo, we're one of those organisations that are not in the shadows, but we are sort of everywhere. So we currently operate out of 80 countries, just shy of 20 billion turnover, and we serve over 100 million consumers every single day. So from on-site services through to home care and benefits and rewards as well. So when we're talking retail, we've got a massive retail arm to our business, and in the UK, that's around about 1,000 sites. So I've got one of those wonderful convoluted corporate titles. But what that actually means is that I look after our consumer experiences and how can we best engage with our end consumers and clients as well to make sure that everyone's happy.
Welcome. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us on the panel today. A stellar lineup, I'm sure you will agree. And thank you to our anonymous audience member who's just said that scrub skincare is looking good on me. I'll take that. And I'm 110, so our anti-aging stuff works, right? So all is well. But yeah, how's that to kick off the panel with a little compliment? So thank you, you anonymous flirt, whoever you are. I'm loving your work. So thank you for giving me a little kick in my step. I'll tell my other half about that later. So, and remind him how lucky he is. Right, good stuff. Let's get going and have a great panel. Anouk, I'm going to come to you first over in the Netherlands, please. Zero-party data. Just let that phrase sit there a minute. We've all heard about it, but I'm not sure anybody really understands what it means. But in regular language, please, to unpack for our audience, what is it and how do you leverage it to personalize your marketing?
Sure, yeah, well, zero-party data is probably the buzzword of the year. And it will be next year as well. You'll hear it repeated a lot. Like any buzzword in the digital advertising space, we've given a very snazzy name to something very simple, so we sound smart to our not so digitally savvy CEOs and other people paying our salaries. In short, we all know about third-party data collected through cookies, other tracking methods. Zero-party data is the exact opposite. So it's collected directly from customers, and most importantly, it's voluntary data. So these people have offered up that data and given immediate consent to use it. So yeah, the key difference here is the fact that it's voluntary, and you guys will all know your iOS 14.5, I think it was, updates, where we all of a sudden had to say, hey, I would like to allow tracking, yes or no. And the vast majority of us said, no, please ask this app not to track. Which of course caused a minor breakdown for people like myself. We're like, oh, need to be very creative now and find a new way to track. So that's when zero-party data was born as a term. And now what we do is we need to leverage, well, everything to do to personalize your marketing with zero-party data. First and foremost, because cookies will be going away. I think by the end of 2023, we won't be seeing much of cookies and tracking anymore. So if you're still building your digital marketing strategy and your customer insights on the use of cookies or borrowing cookie data, you need a bit of a reshuffle, need to rethink that. Second reason, which is probably the most long-term, is that if you do it right, zero-party data is an extremely intimate way of collecting data. It's on a one-by-one, customer-specific. So it gives you the beautiful opportunity to build customer journeys that are incredibly personalized, very specific. And because of that, you can create shopping funnels and email funnels and all things you would like that are there to build relationships on a one-by-one basis. So definitely the future.
Do you think all retailers understand the term zero-party data? Because I know we think everyone's heard about it, but how convinced are we that everyone understands it?
I think it's a difference between understanding it and then thinking, should I do this now or later? You know, it seems difficult. Not all of us have an app, for example. So you're thinking, oh, this is something to do with apps, something that doesn't bother me. But yeah, there's legislation coming. So 2023, end of 2023, I'm expecting cookies to start disappearing completely off the scale, which means your third-party data are becoming useless. So you need to go onto zero-party data now, proactively. You start asking your current customers, your repeat customers, what is it they like, ask them for specific consent, whether or not through an app, you're going to have to do it on a one-by-one, whether that's email marketing or different methods or in-store policies. So yeah, people who don't understand it yet, I think it's because they don't have that urgency yet. But it's already the end of the year. We're in the last session of 2021. So technically, you have another full 2 years to do it in a digital space. And to create a data project, that's not a lot of time to create a new data infrastructure. So 2 years start now.
Call to action from Anouk has started here, audience. So thank you for that. It's a good heads up. So and particularly, as you said, the timings with the new year on us so quickly. Thank you. I will come back to you shortly as well. Janis, on the subject of customer data, how do you guys over at Look Fabulous Forever use that data to provide better experiences at each stage of the customer journey?
Yeah, I'm just going to touch on what Anouk said just on zero-party data before I move on to that, because I think I'm actually quite skeptical about the value of zero-party data, because I think particularly when it comes to behavior, often customers don't know what they want. So putting it all on the customer, it can be quite dangerous. And for example, I've got a hotel group where I've opted into emails and I've asked to hear about hotels in Chicago, because at the time I signed up to emails, I was going to Chicago, but I've been to Chicago now and I'm not interested in hotels in Chicago anymore. But because that's what I've told them, that's what they continue to send me. So I think our strategy is much more geared around first party data, which is data that we have on a consent basis that our customers have shared with us, more around their purchase behavior and where we can see what they've done, and then, for example, leveraging that to say, do you know what, you've just bought our lip primer, for example, and it works in a slightly counterintuitive way that's a little bit different from similar products. You actually put it around the outside of your lips rather than on your lips. So for people who have just bought lip primer, we will send them a video explaining how the product works. They'll see content around it when they visit the website and they're logged in and all of those things. And we're more leveraging that first party data and what we know about our customers for a fact to then personalize their experience from there. I love the idea of zero party data. I think it's quite difficult in practice to use, and it becomes out of date very quickly.
Got it. And Anouk, any view on that as well, what Janis has just said?
Yeah, she's completely right. I mean, zero-party data, one of the big things we put as a side note there is that it needs to be done right. If you don't have tracking that can update itself almost in real time, it definitely becomes very complicated. First-party data obviously is not going away. That's totally usable and very good long-term strategy. I think zero-party data will be a trial and error for a lot of people. Now, something like sending her emails where she's already been to Chicago, they're still sending her Chicago, that can be fixed with even first-party data. So that's just someone who really should be better at their journeys. And they're probably just relying on cookie data, which is, again, third-party. So that's the one that I'm telling brands to step away from quite urgently. First-party data, extremely important, should be your main focus, hoping that for the majority of digital savvy brands, that is already the case. You're already using that data. And zero-party data, as it is a new buzzword, it will become very exciting because it is so personal. But yes, Janis is completely correct. Therefore, it's also immediately out of date. So you need to keep that up to date.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. And I'm going to come back to this conversation, I'm sure, as we evolve the webinar. But Harpreet, you've been sat there very patiently. So I'm going to pivot the conversation over to you, if I may. Moving the conversation away slightly, how can businesses look at their real estate strategy using data to engage customers before they even think about using a space? You know, optimizing spaces, customer journey, optimizing checkouts. What's your thoughts?
I think it's a really interesting one. I know we were just talking there more around the e-commerce aspects, but a lot of our business is still very much bricks and mortar, and the retail industry has been hammered over the last 18 months to 2 years. So getting consumers back and feeling comfortable about using those spaces is vital. You know, we're seeing our latest tracker information that shows that people do want to go back either into a workplace or retail environment, but there's 3 areas that they're still very nervous about. One which is health and safety. Obviously, is the environment that I'm going in clean? Is it safe? Speed of service, again, which we've been, I think, all battling with from a retail environment for forever. And then sort of that noise and sort of actually being around people, that social anxiety of we've all been stuck at home for what feels like forever at the moment, doesn't it? So then going into a crowded retail environment is very concerning for a lot of us. So we've been working with some of our retail and real estate teams to map those different pain points and really speak to a consumer before they even enter to say, look, this is what we've done around cleaning. Here's our certification. So moving from sort of invisible cleaning, so cleaners kind of used to be that Victorian era of they only came out at night and did the work, you couldn't be seen or heard, but now consumers want to see people walking around and cleaning. And similarly with digital tools to either, whether it's click and collect that I know we've talked about, scan and go, so rather than having to queue up at a till, are you deploying technologies as we have through our latest app 12 Pay that turns the consumer into that till so they can walk around, scan, kind of like Amazon Go that we've all seen, and just walk out? And again, it's that frictionless retail that I think we've all been trying to aim for, that sort of nirvana. But if you don't do that now and the consumer has a bad experience, especially in the current climate, you're going to have to spend, as always, 8, 9, 10 times more to try and get them back in. So I think, our advice to real estate teams is really dig deep into what are those pain points and how can you solve them and how can you communicate to people before they even step out their door.
It's interesting, that point around, I was wondering the other day if people are really ready to get back out there into packed shops at the moment. And we at Scrub, we did our first ever Spirit of Christmas show a couple of weeks ago over at Olympia. And the audience numbers were definitely down. I mean, people just weren't ready to move into that space with 600 retailers under one roof. But then yesterday, I was walking down Oxford Street and it was absolutely heaving. And so I was just like, I think people are sort of braving going out there, but ultimately I think the arena of digital is just going to be the boss this Christmas still, and for those that can't face the shops, they're going to be shopping online more than ever. I think probably the biggest Christmas online ever. Do we think? What do we think?
Definitely.
I think that stock and supply issues are going to impact, to be fair, physical retail as well as online. But I think we're facing enormous difficulty. You have John Lewis chartering a fleet of ships to get product in stores in time for Christmas. I think we had an amazing year last year and we've got a lot of constraints this year. Yeah,
I think it's a really good point. This whole raw material logistics distribution backlog, if you like, is a nightmare. And we just had it at Scrub where some raw materials were delayed in our soap manufacturing because we use beautiful essential oils. They were massively delayed. They come from Europe. And so therefore the manufacturing process was delayed, which meant we had to use the dreaded airship to get them to the United States for our relationship with Nordstrom. And I can't even tell you how much that bill was to put them on an airplane. And we don't like using airplanes anyway because of eco and cost, but it was eye-watering. And it was like, we're only a little business, we can't afford it, but we did it because we had to. But yeah, I mean, I think lots of retailers, large and small, are facing those logistical issues. So interesting argument, Janis. It might not be the biggest Christmas due to other constraints. So,
yeah, for us, it's exactly the same as a manufacturer. We're in the automotive industry, so we have a chip shortage as well, as well as a driver shortage as well. Have no containers. There's stuff we repeat order, usually 3 to 4 week lead time, and now 55 weeks. So planning that into your supply chain is crazy. If you want to upgrade your vehicle today, you say to yourself, oh, I'd like an Apple CarPlay unit instead of a CD player. It's impossible to get for Christmas. You can get them for next year Christmas if you order now. So Janis is completely correct. And it's funny she says it because I actually had a publication by Gartner ready for this talk, where they actually warn us that the physical impact of the stress in the supply chain that we're currently seeing is going to hit many businesses very hard over Christmas, but also well into the course of 2022. So I think we'll all have a bit of a cash flow crisis, at least in retail and manufacturing, for at least the next 6 to 12 months, because our margins are squeezed because of all these issues. But we also therefore have a shortage in working capital, don't we? So we can't invest in things like IT. Marketing is the first one to get squeezed. So all of those things have,
We've got a demonstration at this point, actually, from Chris. Thank you, Chris. And it's a comment rather than a question. But Chris is saying that getting stock into the UK has been a major challenge for him, with shipping containers cost several times higher than normal. Then it sits in dock as there's no one to unload it. And then finding the HGVs to get it to the warehouse. And some suppliers are saying Christmas stock may not be in their warehouse until the 22nd of December, and for an online retailer, totally unacceptable. And then there's a further comment from a TRB guest saying there's also the resource and labor issue currently being faced in logistics supply chain, with large organizations offering huge incentives to staff, which is very difficult to compete with if you're a smaller logistics or warehouse company. So, I mean, two really good quick case studies of some of the stuff we've just been talking about, and some of the probably quite unprecedented problems that we're seeing in a long time. And as if retail didn't have enough challenges, with a pandemic to deal with, it's got all of this as well. Harpreet, I'm going to bring the conversation back to data with you a second. And what challenges have you seen when looking at deploying data gathering tools? Can you share some examples or thoughts there?
I think we, in our industry, we work with a lot of different clients with a lot of different systems. Some of them may be slightly archaic. I think even our own internal systems being a large organization. So challenges with data, I'm sure we all are facing. We have a wealth of data actually, but up until recently, we didn't really know how to use it. And a lot of our clients are facing the same thing. And I think it's being transparent with those individuals that you're collecting data from around what you're using it for. A lot of us are now actually probably being slightly concerned by the amount of data that organizations are siphoning from us. But as long as you're transparent that you're collecting my details, email address, what I'm buying, because you're going to hit me a load of personalized rewards, I'm absolutely fine with that. But the challenges I think really touching on is systems. So what are you deploying out into physical spaces to connect or collect data, and how does that come back into whether it's your CRM system or who's actually looking at that data so it works seamlessly. We work a lot with Microsoft, with Power BI, to really help our on-site teams understand that data, because before they were probably going to about 3 or 4 different platforms, whether it's SAP, Salesforce, then Power BI. But we've actually created almost that integration layer to siphon that data and make it really simple, especially for our in-store managers, that there's 3 or 4 different KPIs that they look at. It's benchmarked against other stores that are of similar profiles, and then it actually suggests what they can do to actually either turn up that KPI or actually bring it back down as well. Because again, I think, as we said, there's no labor, there's no stock, there's nothing around. So asking our teams to do even more and suddenly become data miners and data experts is really difficult. So I think it's making it easy for the people that have actually got to implement, so they can just follow straightforward ideas.
Thank you, sir. Janis, I'm going to come to you now, if I may. And I know that you use something called intelligent guided selling over at your business, and that really helps personalize product recommendations. Can you bring that to life for our audience?
Yeah, sure. So one of the biggest challenges for buying color makeup products online is this color going to suit me? And to be fair, during the pandemic, even if you went into Boots or Selfridges, you wouldn't, and they were open, you wouldn't have been able to test those products anyway for hygiene reasons. So this is become increasingly important. Like, how do I tell before I've tried something, is it going to suit me? So we worked with an intelligent guided selling provider to help that process. And we ask, we call it our color quiz. We ask a series of questions that help you understand what's going to suit you. And it's things that are not necessarily immediately obvious. Like, for example, what color do the veins in your wrist appear? And if they appear more kind of blue or purple, then a certain palette of colors is going to suit you more than if they appear more kind of greeny and yellowy. Then that's going to says a lot about what's called the undertone of your skin, and that had nothing to do with the pigment of your skin. It's to do with the kind of palette of colors that will suit you. So we ask them a series of questions about themselves, and then we ask, what do you want this product for? Are you just going to the supermarket, or are you going out for a fancy dinner, a special occasion? Then all of those things. And we ask this series of questions to say, okay, right, well, these are the specific colors that will suit you, will be perfect for the particular occasion you're using them for, to say, right, this is what you should buy. And it's been fantastically successful for us. And I think what's been most surprising for us, that we knew this was a really important thing for us to do, but we thought it was going to be very much a kind of bottom of funnel thing, that people would know about us, they would have been looking at our products, they would have been thinking about buying, and they just needed help over that last hurdle, which specific colors to buy. And what we've actually found is it's been a huge tool for engagement at top of funnel. People who never heard of us before, it's been this perfect introduction to the brand. For us, helping them understand what's going to suit them is the beginning of our relationship on that journey to purchase. So it's been brilliant.
Thank you for that. Anouk, I know that you and I have talked before about this brand use of data offline versus digital data, and you had an example you wanted to share around Starbucks and their kind of 2022 look on digital loyalty. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, of course. It's again related to the fact that marketers have to be quite creative right now to deal with the cost cutting and staving things off, the supply chain issues, but also to just simply preserve cash for the business, which is, as digital leaders, something we can definitely help our sales and operational departments with. This is, of course, nothing new for Starbucks. And you think to yourself, why is Starbucks a pretty massive brand? I can't really compare. But funnily enough, and I like to look at these brands just to see what's new, really, because they've got the budgets many of us do not. So they can try a lot of stuff and fail without it hurting them too much. And their Q3 results this year showed very much how you can execute a very simple customer loyalty scheme that all of us have access to basically deliver on cash flow for immediate spending needs. But they also delivered record dividends that basically, of course, can be used for future capital expenditure. So very interesting there. And the numbers really don't lie. Starbucks now has reported that in Q3, when was still basically a lot of America was still shut, there were nearly 25 million customers that visited that quarter to stores in the US. Put that into perspective, that's almost half of all US store transactions that quarter, right? Now, funnily enough, 30% of those 25 million were repeat customers. Those were customers that used the Starbucks Rewards membership. You may have one, a little card, you may have the app, you may just have a little paper voucher, which they now give you automatically in stores with a stamp if you do not have the sign-up form. You're basically coached into it. And what that is a very simple 90-day active tracker, which rewards the most active customers. And what it does in 6 months, they've now got 24.8 million members in the US alone, all individual using this program. And it's just a loyalty card, which is mainly done through the app and digital email marketing. But the average spend of people repeat purchasing also went up 21%. So that's where that extra capital comes from. Now, of course, those are insane numbers. We can only dream to ever have half of all store transactions in the US. But it's very encouraging for small businesses to see that such a very bulk standard application as a stamp here coupon, so to speak, can be digitified and used beautifully jazzed up with marketing from our side to make something that really glitters and creates such a massive big impact for a company like Starbucks, was literally all it is a couponing tactic. So yeah, something retailers, travel companies, we can all learn from. These are simple tactics that are reintroducing. It's no longer old-fashioned to coupon, and those kind of things are coming back now because they were trying to get their in-store traffic up because those who had been part of the business that was shut, right? So yeah, I thought it was interesting, wanted to share.
Those numbers are just huge, like 25 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sorry, Harpreet, I cut across you, go on.
No, I was just going to add to that one because the Starbucks one I think is fascinating with what they've done with their digital loyalty. That it's a money-making machine for them as well, isn't it? On the side of it when you preload. But the other one that's sort of come up in the UK recently is the Pret subscription model that we may or may not have heard of, which is first month's free, which is brilliant. But you can get 5 coffees a day for £20 a month, so an unlimited piece. And again, that's a great example of a physical store retailer using one of those sort of old school sort of tactics just to get people in. And then you can start understanding those purchasing patterns. And as we know, coffee is brilliant margins. It's fairly cheap to give away. But again, that's big retailer doing those sort of tactics just to get people in, because they know once you've got them in, you can upsell and start talking to them differently as well.
That's a good one, right? I mean, and as you say, cheap to give away, but the power of what it buys in terms of customer loyalty, those little surprise and delight moments, they all add up to a huge piece of value. Just going to go back to some of the challenges we talked about before. We've had another example. Thank you, Rob. Rob's just saying on a personal level, he's had 2 emails today from 2 separate online retailers telling him that his orders can't be fulfilled and that he's going to be refunded, even though they were, he was able to order and the items were originally in stock. So he thinks it's going to be a really interesting golden quarter ahead, and that kind of tension between physical and digital is, I guess, unknown. So yeah, thank you for sharing that example with us, Rob. Nothing more frustrating than being allowed to buy something and then getting an email saying, oops, we can't really give it to you and here's your money back. So yeah, golden rule of retail. If I see it, I want to buy it, let me have it and send it to me. So that's going to be a real challenge, I think, for some retailers this Christmas. We are flying through on time. Thank you for the interaction so far. And the audience has stayed with us, so well done, panel. Good job. We are going to come into the last 10 minutes, actually. We're only a small and cute team today, so we've probably got about 10 minutes left. If you want to get some questions in for the panel, they are here, and you can ask one specifically, or you can just ask a general question, and I'll make sure that we answer it. I'm going to start some closing panel words as well, whilst we wait for any further questions to come in. And I'm going to come back to you, Anouk, if I may. When you think ahead to 2022, and I know we started our conversation earlier with zero-party data, but when you think ahead to 2022, is there anything that you would call as a big watch out on top of what we've already discussed for any retailers or the audience listening today? Any red flags, anything people should really be thinking about for 2022 or beyond?
It really depends on where you do business. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but since this week, Amazon is soon going to stop accepting credit card payments because of the fees that's too expensive for them, basically, with margins in the UK. I think things like that are going to become more and more important as cash flows stretch, right? As the supply chain becomes more and more difficult, we will be having to cut back on things that we usually had the money and the margin to spend stuff on, and we're going to be watching those margins closer and closer. So what you need to expect this year is that the average price of bits are going to go up for consumers, but also for us. Everybody's going to be raising their prices, right? There are going to be products that are just literally not available for a while because either there's a chip issue or there's just nobody to unload the boat, So I think those are things we're going to be seeing in the next 6 to 12 months as our major challenge and something to watch out for. So what I'm excited about, and it's the optimism in me as always, is to see creative ideas from marketers like your Star Wars bringing back to life this super old-fashioned model. How can we tap into what is available and still deliver a really good experience in a time where we are frustrating our customers by canceling their orders, keep that relationship. I think that's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I saw that Amazon news yesterday, I think, and it's just Visa credit cards, isn't it, for now?
Yeah, specifically.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where that's gonna end, what will be next, kind of thing. So a bold move, because I'm assuming a massive chunk of their business is done via payment and Visa, and it's literally forcing customers to change the way they shop in terms of the way they pay, right? So
immediately, yeah, with immediate effect as well, which is like, here from this date, no more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good example. Janis, what would be your key watch outs for 2022, or indeed even within your own business? What are you aware of or navigating right now?
Yeah, I think we've been through this really interesting period where kind of demand swung very heavily towards online last year. It swung back towards physical retail this year, and where will it go next? And to Anouk's point about experience, it's key, whether you're digital or physical or both. What is in it for the customer? Can they get products that they can't get, or services they can't get either online or in store? Is it price? Is it cheaper? Is it more convenient? Is it a better experience? And I think for us, and that's part of the reason we launched the color quiz, is that we want you to have a really great experience buying beauty products online, because that's what we are. We are an online only retailer. And how do we help you through that journey with the best content, making sure you have the best experience? We have a fantastic social community, and that's been really key for us. That I was doing some analysis earlier in the week, and we looked at our net promoter score for people who are members of our closed Facebook community was 76 versus 60 for customers who weren't members. And what was really surprising was that it was 65 for customers who weren't members of the community but knew that it existed. So actually, even people who know that we have this community and choose not to participate actually respect us more as a brand because we have it. So I think it's all of these things about making sure that you are providing the best experience for customers, because they are in control, they have the choice. Particularly when there are stock issues, you need to maintain that loyalty when you may not be giving them the best experience that they would hope for.
Yeah, we talked actually in the first session today in the fireside chat about customers basically being more powerful than ever now, really. And, they are firmly in the driving seat and can easily go elsewhere should they need to. So I think retailers that don't keep that front of mind more than ever won't be able to keep them on side. Harpreet, what's your watch outs, red flags and so on for 2022? What are you thinking about?
I think for me, it's the mental well-being aspect. So for everyone, whether you're a consumer, an employer, employee, but consumers, we may or may not be aware, but antidepressant usage went up by 25% during COVID. The anxiety that a lot of individuals are still feeling, whether it's about the future, returning to work, shopping, buying things, is still going to be there. And that's only going to compound as we go through another lockdown that may or may not be coming up, and then swing out of that, and then vaccinations and all those sorts of things. So as retailers, we've got an opportunity to help customers make those easy decisions. Shopping, when we talked before about omni-channel experiences, it's just shopping, whether it's virtual or physical. So any way that we as retailers can make that experience really seamless, really easy, natural, and actually take some pressure off as a consumer. So for example, that message about Rob, I would get really annoyed with that because if it's a Christmas present or not, I think that's banked. And then a retailer's just told me it's not available anymore. So now I've got to start that cycle, and I probably really wanted that product, and now I can't find it anywhere, and nothing else will match up with it. So maybe that retailer could have been a bit more transparent with their communication. Say, look, it's out of stock now. but it's back in a couple of months, we're really sorry. Do you still want it then? And that starts to build a bit of brand loyalty. And I think everyone understands the position that the world's in at the moment with products not being available. So if you can touch on that anxiety or that mental well-being that we're all feeling and tap into that and really help consumers, navigate it, I think that could be something that as brands, as teams, as retailers, we can, build that loyalty on.
It's an interesting point. It's about softening of the message, right? So if you just get an email saying we can't supply it and here's your money back, it's a bit like, oh, okay, then that's thanks very much. But if it simply said we can't supply it, we're giving you your money back, and by the way, we hope to have it here, and if you still want to buy it, here's an extra 10% to buy it from us, then would change the narrative completely, wouldn't it?
It switches the message, it prolongs the message and keeps a sort of conversation going rather than just say, no, we don't have it, which you know what the response to that is going to be, because that's how you would react yourself. I think what Harpreet there said, also Janis, is very important to watch. And we shouldn't forget also the internal responsibility we have as digital leaders. We have people working for us dealing with these supply chain issues every day, dealing with customer complaints, because I'm going to reply angry to that message that my Christmas present wasn't there, you promised, and those kind of people also need a bit of extra attention in the coming 6 to 12 months, especially now with the Christmas period, and then after that, the winter blues. So at AAMP, we just started an internal newsletter where you actually get a lot of beautiful news. And as a company, we got a corporate account with an app called Headspace. People can download or not, decide what you want to do on their phone to get a few minutes of quiet time to themselves, just to keep everybody on the same page and motivate everybody to do things.
I think that's such an important point as well. We haven't really spoken about employees today, but they are your number one priority. If you get it right with your employees, they will go over and above with, consumers. And we are in, everyone, it's a war on talent at the moment. I know we're talking 7% unemployment in the UK, but realistically, it's more like 3. People are moving industries. That loyalty doesn't exist anymore. So hold on to those great employees that you've got, respect them, treat them well, because then everything else, I would say, will fall into place.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing we haven't even touched on today, but the talent drain, and every retailer, every hospitality venue, every bar, restaurant, all got vacancy signs up. No one can fill their vacancies, and the knock-on effect of that has been, just tremendous. So there's so many pressures, around the businesses out there right now in retail and hospitality, that it's certainly some choppy waters, but to Anouk's point earlier, there's lots of optimism as well. So thank you. By the way, Rob says thanks to all of you, and particularly well articulated by you, Harpreet. So there you go, some personal love for you there as well. We are going to close off soon, so I'm going to ask you all to leave us with some final thoughts around this subject, or anything that you want to leave our audience with. So Anouk, wrap things up for us.
Start looking into zero-party data, start utilizing and understanding your first-party data, move away from third-party data, and think creative of how you as a marketer can motivate your staff and your customers through lovely messaging to make sure we can all get through these troubled times and into better waters.
That's a beautifully packaged set of advice there. So thank you so much. And I hope you're settling into your new home in the Netherlands. And lovely to have you back with us, and look forward to seeing you on a panel in 2022.
Thank you. Lovely being here.
Janis, wrap up some words for us.
I think that piece around personalization and leveraging data to provide better experiences, the more we can anticipate our customers' needs, the more that we can understand them and give them friction-free experiences based on what they need, the better we can serve them, and the more profitable we'll be as a result.
Excellent, and thank you again for coming back to see us, and wishing you guys over at Look Fabulous Forever a brilliant festive season, and hopefully not too many of those issues that we've been talking about during the webinar today. Harpreet, you're actually the closing words, so what you got for us?
Make it good. I think for me, it's keep it simple. Collecting data is a huge minefield. And if you're new to this, or even a large organization that's doing this today, just pick 1 or 2 data points that you want to focus on, really nail down those simple KPIs that you want to do, and test. Test things small bursts and just keep iterating it through, and you'll soon and very quickly start to see the success of those programs.
Thank you, sir. The perfect wrap. I mean, that is it. That is it for 2021. By the way, Christmas is on 5 weeks Saturday, just in case anyone hasn't noticed. So get shopping online, particularly as you've heard some of these stories today about people getting refunded of what they wanted. So I do have a feeling there's going to be some kind of panic buying online at some point as well. And that's a conversation we haven't even started yet. But yeah, I think things are going to run out. So here we go. The digital first panic buy maybe could be upon us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Anouk and to Janis and Harpreet for a brilliant panel. Thank you to our audience, not just for sticking with us in this session, but for being with us since February and all of the virtual events that we've ran all year. We've just had a brilliant lineup of absolute stellar panelists all year round that has got brilliant engagement, and we're really proud of it. And thank you for being with us. This session has been recorded. So if you want to pass it on to others or watch it again for any of the insights, it will be available later on YouTube and LinkedIn and so on. But that's it. It's a wrap from TRB for 2021. Thank you so much again to my panelists. I'm going to say Happy Christmas. Why not? Have a great Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, Happy New Year.